Well, hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I own a multi-7-figure-a-year coaching business. I'm also a certified life coach. So I have the honor of helping thousands of women every single month make money in the online space and help them to get unstuck from whatever is holding them back, all without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, you're going to get the very best life and business advice, always with a healthy dose of Jesus. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited that you are here. Well, hey friends, it's Jennifer here. This is podcast episode number 298, the one where I could sneeze. And welcome back to the podcast. I do have a little bit of sneezing going on. There's allergy stuff in the air. It's sinuses, it's hay fever. It is what it is. So if I sneeze, if it's a good one, like I'm just going to let it go through without telling the podcast editor, Zeke, to take it out. If it's awful, then we'll edit it. I'm just going to apologize in advance if you hear that. Okay. So I want to talk today on the podcast about the fact that as of today, when I record this podcast, today is Monday, October the 10th. And so you will not hear it today, but there are 83 days left of this year. And is it just me, or as 2022 just like got at warp speed? I mean, it's crazy. And let me tell you, those of you who are younger than me, which is quite a few of you, the older you get, the faster it goes. It's the wildest thing. I'm like, wait a second, what's even happening? So yeah, if we were still writing checks, I'd still be writing 2021 on the check. I cannot believe we're ending the 2022 this quarter. So it's wild to me, but there are 83 days left. And I want to give you some podcast ideas today on how you can end out this year strong for your business. Okay. Because I think what sometimes happens is we start to hit quarter four and people start getting excited about the holidays. They start getting maybe discouraged about their sales thus far this year. They start thinking, you know what, I'm probably not going to meet my goals. So they take their foot kind of off the gas. And, and so life sometimes just takes over. And so what I want to tell you is that quarter four is normally the most lucrative time of year for businesses, both online or offline. Like whether you have a brick and mortar or whether you're selling courses, memberships, consulting, whatever. They are usually the most lucrative, quarter four is, for any business. And that means we're just a couple of days. We're just 10 days as I'm recording this into quarter four. We have 83 days left. And I just want to remind those of you who are like, you know what, this business thing, it's just not doing what I want for it to do. Or, you know what, the goal that I set at the beginning of the year, it's going to be impossible to reach that. Or whatever story you may be telling yourself. I just want you to stop. Like I literally want you to stop. And I want to talk about what is going to be your strategy so that you end 2022 in a way that you feel really proud about, and in a way that'll still help you to make your goals, and in a way where you're not, killing yourself by overworking. But I don't want you to give up on the rest of this year, because this year is not even close to being over. Did you know that in quarter four of last year, the statistic that I got online from a company called Digital Commerce 360 is that there was $257 billion, billion with a B for Bezos. that's Jeff Bezos. $257 billion was spent on quarter four. And that was up almost a full 10% from the previous year in 2020. So if you are tempted to say, okay, but Jen, that was last year. And this year, like inflation, this year, threats and rumors of war, nuclear war. Like if that's what you're wanting to do, interest rates, Jen, and inflation, nobody's buying. Let me just tell you, that is a load of crap. Okay. People are still buying left and right. We just had my Better Way program where we welcomed hundreds of people into that program at $2,000 a pop. People are still buying. You might just have to change the way you're positioning things. Okay. So your positioning might need to change. So let's talk about a plan. First of all, I want to know if you have any sort of a plan on how you are going to meet the goals that you have from now until the end of the year. I want to tell you a little story about what I used to do. Okay. So back when I was selling painting instructions online, and it was DIY videos, it was, cabinet classes, it was my Paint Finish the Month club. Because I'm a super impulsive person, and a lot of you who are listening to me are the same way, I would just wing it. I would just wing it like I had a lot of my business. And so a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're a super passionate person. We're going to call that a SPP, super passionate person, and a super impulsive person. That's an SIP. I'm just making this up as I go, by the way. Those aren't official diagnoses. Okay. So because you're super passionate, super impulsive, you don't like to plan things out a long ways in advance. Okay. And listen, this is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing, except for when we are heading into the holiday seasons and you are craving a little bit of downtime. You want some face-to-face with your family. You don't want to be working all the way through the holidays and you still want to meet your goals. So I'm going to tell you what the rub is. Okay. The rub is you're a super passionate, super impulsive person who doesn't like to plan a long ways in advance. And all that's great. It's made you into the brilliant entrepreneur that you are right now. But then the rub is that we get the most busy online season of the year. You have a goal you want to meet, but you don't want to work a ton between now and the end of the year. And when it gets ready for that, the Black Friday sales, and it gets ready for, the week of Thanksgiving, and it gets ready for end of the year, you're like, I know I need to be putting all these things in place, but I just don't have the capacity to. I have no bandwidth to do anything right now because I actually want face-to-face time with my family and I want to be present and all the things. So I'm saying that to say, you have to start now, ladies, like right now on October the 10th or whatever day you're hearing this, because it won't come out today, you need to be starting your plan right now. And if you don't know what kind of a plan you actually want, here's what I want you to think of. Where are you at right now with the dollars brought in this year for 2022? And where do you want to end up? And then let's talk about the gap. Okay. So if you're someone who's like, I wanted to end up at $50,000 this year and I'm at 40,000. Okay. Then you need to make 10 grand from now until the end of the year. And if you're like, okay, so I just need to sell a lot more. And my question to you is, okay, so how are you going to do that? Like, what is your plan? And I already know because so many of you, your mind works just like me. And you're going to think to yourself, well, I'll just do a better job of selling. I'll just sell more. I can remember when I sat down with my friend, Laura Meyer, who does marketing and consulting for 7 and 8 figure earners. We sat down 3 years ago, this month, actually in October. And I was telling her that I wanted to double our revenue that year. And she goes, well, what's your plan? And I'm like, I looked at her, I go, well, I'm just going to sell more. And she kind of did to me what I'm doing to you. She kind of chuckled. Okay, well, that sounds great. But like, how? Like, what are you going to actually do? And I was like, well, I'm just going to do better. Like, and she's like, are you going to launch more? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And she's like, well, what's your highest price point? We had this long conversation. And then I realized, holy smokes, if I'm going to double my revenue, like I'm gonna have to double some of my prices on things. And it was like this mind blowing experience where I realized my plan of just going to sell more isn't really a plan. It's like a lofty goal, but that's not a plan. A plan is specific. And so let's go back to that example. Let's say you were wanting to hit $50,000 by the end of the year and you're at 40,000. I'm just making this example up as I talk, by the way. You're at 40,000. So you need to make $10,000 from now till December 31st. So what I'd like for you to do is figure out what that equals per month. So there's only 2.5 months left. What that equals per week. How many weeks do we have left? Let's just say 11 by the time you hear this. Or what does this mean for like per day? Like how much would you have to make per day? And as I record this, there's 83 days left. So you would need to make, if your goal is $10,000 and there's 83 days left, let me ask Siri. Siri, what is 10,000 divided by 83? Siri says 120. So from now till the end of the year, you need to have $120 in revenue every day. This is how you make a plan. You work it backwards. You look at where you're trying to head and where you currently are, and you look at the gap and you figure out, how am I going to bridge the gap? Lord, what could I do to bridge the gap between where I'm at and where I want to be? I want to tell you guys that 2 years ago, we had an end of the year goal. And we decided in like November of that year that we were going to launch something we'd never launched before. Which was called the Next Level program. And it was right before I did my mastermind. So it was not the mastermind, but it was right before that. And that December, we had like a $600,000 launch of that one program on top of all the other things, that I did have in place, my inner circle and the monthly group and the consulting, all those things. It was, it was one of those things where it was like, we didn't have it on the books. We had goals. How can we make this goal happen? What's the next thing our people need? At what price point does it have to be? Can we get it out the door and offered to them in the middle of December? Yes, we can. We will start in January 1st, and we sold the heck out of that. So for any of you right now who are wondering if you can still make your goal for this year, you absolutely can. What I want you to do is I want you to look at where you're trying to go and where you're currently at and break it down. Because for those of you who are overwhelmed super easily, it will make it so much more manageable. It's that saying of like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I want you to take it one bite at a time, one day at a time. Because there is a lot of money to be made between now and the end of the year. Now, as you guys know, Black Friday and Black Friday shopping, it's a huge deal, right? And it's next month. What I used to do is I would wait until November 1st, and then I'd start thinking about what I was going to offer for Black Friday. And then I would actually start getting a plan for that or putting it together the week before Thanksgiving. And then it would be the week of Thanksgiving that I would actually like do all the work that I needed to do and then get it out into the world. And you guys, it was no fun. It was not a lot of fun because I waited too long. And even as a super passionate person, which I am, like I'm an SPP, just like those of you creatives who are listening, I don't like thinking this far in advance. It's very uncomfortable, but you know what is more uncomfortable? Having to get up from Thanksgiving dinner and send out an email to try to make some sales. That's even more uncomfortable. So I'm asking you to kind of wrestle with your wiring just a little bit. I know God has wired a lot of you like me. You're very last minute people. But if you want to truly enjoy the holidays and at the same time make your goals, I want you to start getting your plan for Black Friday and for the rest of the year right now. If you need Black Friday help, you can go to jenniferallwood.com/Black Friday. We've got a strategy guide, totally free. You can download it there. You can send it to some of your girlfriends who own a clothing boutique or who are trying to sell baby bibs, or they're selling a coaching program for next year and they're going to put it on sale or whatever. Send this to them. It's jenniferallwood.com/Black Friday. It's a free download. It will give you some solid strategies and plans for Black Friday. All right. But what I don't want you to do is already start throwing in the towel and just go on coast from now until the end of the year. There are things that you can be doing in October and in November that are going to set you up for December, where you're not having to work the whole time, where you're still able to enjoy your family, but you still have revenue coming in. I want you to get a piece of that pie. $257 billion last year in quarter four. That was up 10% from the year before. I wonder if it'll be up 10% again this year. And please do not it'll be tempting for you to think, oh, people aren't going to spend as much this year. They're not going to spend as much as this year. Listen, one of the most valuable things the Holy Spirit taught me is to quit looking at my business through the eyes of my own checking account. Years ago, the Holy Spirit shared that with me when I was trying to price painting projects for other people, because I would want to give them a price. I'd be like, oh my gosh, they are never going to pay that. There's no way they're going to pay that. Well, it's because I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford me. So I was pricing everything based on my own ability to pay for things. Don't do that. There's plenty of people who are out shopping. They will be shopping. They will be spending money between now and the end of the year. And I want them to spend money with you. Okay. All right, friends. I hope that was super helpful. Go get that free download at jenniferallwood.com/Black Friday and send me a DM if you would on Instagram. Let me know if this ministered to your heart. I'd love it if you shared the show. That's how we get a lot of new listeners of the podcast. So I appreciate you. I'm rooting for you. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.